All right, everyone. It's Monday, January 20th, 2025, episode 4 of the He Said, She Said Sports Talk podcast. I'm your host, Big Red, along with our host, Tony. How you doing, Tony? How's the day going? We got some breaking news.
Yeah, we
Um, the coaching carousel continues in the NFL. The Bears are working out a deal with Detroit offensive coordinator Ben Johnson. Is that correct?
yes, it is. This is all per Adam Schefter, by the way. He's our go-to source for breaking news. Nobody else I
Yes.
want giving me my inside scoop.
Yes, and the Colts are also finalized the deal with the Bengals DC Lou Anarumo.
Yeah,
That
yeah. The Colts
yeah,
are hiring Lou Anarumo to the same position, defensive coordinator. I told you a few weeks ago I didn't think Lou would be out of a job long, and sure enough, here he is.
he's not
Mm-hmm.
definitely.
Yep.
All right, well, it's a cold, snowy day today, but we're going to talk some NFL, of course.
Let's get into
Um,
it.
yeah, the playoffs. The first game of the divisional rounds, we had the Kansas City Chiefs and the Houston Texans. The Chiefs ended up winning that game. What was it, 23 to 12 or 14 or something like that?
23 to
Oh,
14.
14, yes.
Yes.
There's a lot of things to talk about that game. You let me know how you feel about it. I'll let you go first.
I just want to start with a very interesting stat that I will read to you. The Texans are the first team in the NFL in postseason history to outgain their opponent by 100 yards, have zero
Hmm.
turnovers, and lose.
And
Prior to
lose.
that, in these situations, teams were 49 and 0.
That's wild.
That's
That's
a
crazy.
wild stat.
Yes, I noticed that as well. They definitely didn't have any turnovers and had over 100 more total yards
Mhm.
and ended up losing the game.
Before we get into the controversial calls that were made in this game, I do want to say I am fairly critical of the Chiefs. I am. The Texans have to put up more than 14 points to win this game. I'm
100%.
gonna I'm gonna blanket statement that one before we get into all of the other stuff, but you have
Yeah,
to put up more than 14 points to win in a division round. Have to.
yeah. I don't know what's up with the kickers either in the playoffs. It was bad. Houston's kicker definitely struggled as well.
Yes.
Um, However, the Texans did give up 8 sacks to the Chiefs. Some critical moments of their drives throughout the game, so that kind of weeded out them having more yards and no turnovers. C.J. Stroud got gimped up in the game. It was his knee, I think. So he wasn't full percent, but he still played well. He played tough for sure. It was a good game, but the Texans just gave up too many sacks and those personal foul calls. I disagree with a couple of them for sure. And then the flop by Mahomes, what was that? Come on, man.
Yeah, so I mean, look. Again, like the the Chiefs defense continues to bail them out. We need to commend couple
Yeah,
of things that Kansas City did on a coaching front, which is honestly Spagnuolo should be in the Hall of Fame.
yeah, yeah, for
They
sure.
defense carries that team, like you said, all the sacks. But also Andy
Hmm.
Reid built the entire game plan out of avoiding those Texas corners. They're exceptional. He went at the backers, he went at the safeties, and he avoided those corners. And that is something that I think not a lot of coaches in the NFL are willing to do because of ego. You're not willing to go against your typical game plan. Andy Reid
Hmm.
will look at the opposing team and he will build his game plan around them. And I think just you do
Yeah,
have
he's
to
definitely
commend
good at adjusting,
the
making
coaching and the
adjustments.
defense.
Yeah, no, he's definitely great at making adjustments in game at halftime. He's always been good at that, even back in his Philly days when he coached my Eagles. But
Well,
he's
let's I
definitely
mean, let's get into the calls. Let's get into some of those controversial calls. I think, first of all,
uh, the first one on Will Anderson. What do you think about that one? I think that was a bad one, in my opinion. I think
yeah,
that was a bad call for
yeah, I
sure. It
mean,
was close, but he didn't get him like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Want to keep going?
No,
I mean, look,
I
there's
mean,
probably
there's a
10
couple
missed
of
calls in that game.
the one where he slid and they kind of dove at him. I could kind of see that because it was a head collision, but he was. Some people are going to say that he was already a runner
Yeah,
at that point.
I'm gonna disagree with you completely on that one. I think listen, if you're gonna dance around and you're gonna try to go for extra yardage while you're dancing around, it's fair game. It's not like they intended to
Yeah,
hit him in the head. They were trying to avoid him. But if you're gonna make it a rule where the quarterback is so protected like that that they're
yeah,
afraid to hit him, you cannot be allowed to dance around for 5 yards looking to gain extra ticky tack yards and still expect to be protected that way. You're a runner at that point.
yeah. No, I agree with you
Tackled
on
as
that.
such.
Yeah, I agree. It was a close call, but I agree for sure. People were going to argue either way. But let's talk about the other NFC divisional game, the first NFC divisional game of Saturday night, which was the Commanders and Detroit Lions in Detroit, where the Commanders won 45-31 in what was a good game, but too many turnovers, in my opinion, for Detroit. Goff had the majority of those. He had three interceptions and he lost a fumble. So that was the point where I felt like it was just too much for Detroit. Jaden Daniels played excellent, efficient again, no turnovers. Their defense played well. McLaurin played well. Diami Brown played well. So shout out to the Commanders as they move on. What do you think of that game?
Yeah, I mean, look, we went into that game saying that the Lions were going to have to bury the Commanders early, and they did the opposite of that. I think
Yeah.
what this has told us about this Lions team, which looked like it should have been the best team in the NFL going into this season, right, is defense and elite quarterbacks win championships. You can't win playoff games without defense and without an elite quarterback. And the defense has been decimated this season. You have 13 defensive players on IR heading into that game. Meek Robertson got
Hmm.
hurt in that game. I actually think he has a noodle arm now. I'm not sure that will ever I will never
Yeah, yeah,
recover from seeing it.
yeah,
Hopefully he
yeah.
recovers fast. But I don't even think Dan Campbell knows every player that's playing on defense for him right now because there's so many backups and backups of backups in that game, right?
Hmm.
So I think it was inevitable that that was going to catch up to them, unfortunately. And on the offensive side of the ball, Jared Goff can not have that many turnovers. You have to take care of the football.
100%.
I think he was exploited in that game as maybe not an elite quarterback. And it's unfortunate because I think this was the Lions' window. This was their year
Hmm.
to go win it. I think losing your offensive coordinator and your defensive coordinator, because I do think Aaron Glenn will still get scooped up in a head coaching position despite the performance this weekend, because
Yeah.
he was doing the most with what he had, right?
Well, five turnovers doesn't help the defense in any way. It puts them in bad spots for sure. Puts them
Exactly.
on the field a lot more as well. So
I think
the offense,
losing both your offensive coordinator and your defensive coordinator and having to fill both of those roles kind of puts you back into a building block year potentially,
yeah.
because it can hold you back with chemistry between, your players and your coordinators. So it's going to be
Hmm.
interesting to see where they end up next year, but it's so disappointing. It's,
Yeah.
I would say maybe not the most heartbreaking game because I think
Hmm.
whoever lost that Bills Ravens game was going to be the most heartbreaking game of the weekend, but it's the most disappointing. And then
Yeah,
I'd say on the
definitely.
flip side, Jaden Daniels is phenomenal. The things
Yeah,
that he's doing on that team, he is the best rookie quarterback that I have ever seen.
he's probably the best rookie quarterback ever. Him and Stroud, but he's got further than Stroud now. Stroud didn't go to the NFC Championship game, so
I
you
mean,
know.
if you look at the rookie quarterbacks starting in conference championship games, right, and you look at their defense and where their defense ranks, it's all
Uh-huh.
the top three. Jaden Daniels is
Yep.
doing all of this with the 18th ranked defense. So it's not even like his defense is supporting him. He, as a
Hmm.
rookie, is carrying his team. He's so poised. They cut to him on the bench at one point, and he was
I
stone
will say they
cold,
played well
just
yesterday.
chilling.
They did play well yesterday. The T for them to be 18th ranked, they did have a lot of turnovers.
I think that was
Uh,
more on Goff than anything else.
yeah, for sure, definitely, 100%. But you got to give a little credit to the Commanders. Uh, I mean, 3 picks is a lot.
I
You
think when
know,
you're playing with nothing to lose, it makes you dangerous because
yeah,
they have nothing to lose at this point. They
yeah.
have
That
gone,
playoff pressure is a
they've
lot.
surpassed expectations. So there is no playoff pressure. It's whatever happens, happens. It's a successful season at this point. So you have nothing to lose, and that's scary.
Yeah. Well, I definitely think the playoff pressure definitely got to Jared Goff for sure. I will say this is probably the best season that the Detroit Lions have ever had in their history of their uh career, their dynasty or whatever. But
100%.
so they got a lot of work to do, especially with about to be losing their OC and DC. So
I am disappointed that we get no more Jahmyr Gibbs this season. He has been
yeah, he had a great game.
unreal. Other than your boy Saquon, Jahmyr Gibbs is he and Derrick Henry can scuffle around for that number 2 spot after Saquon Barkley because Jahmyr Gibbs is dynamic. The way that he
Yes,
creates
he
space
definitely
for
is.
himself and creates movement after the catch, right? Because he's a great receiving running back as well.
Hmm.
He is phenomenal. He's
Yeah,
explosive,
he's all purpose
dynamic,
back for sure.
and I can't wait to see more of him in this league.
Yeah, definitely. He's definitely an all-purpose back for sure. He's dynamic. He's got a lot of speed, shiftiness, quickness. He's a home run hitter every time he touched the ball. But speaking of Saquon, the Eagles played the Rams in Philly and in a close game in the snow. A lot of injuries in that game too. In that game as well, got kind of sloppy. Saquon, as you spoke of earlier, had a big game, a 200-yard game. He had 255 on the Rams in the regular season. He's actually the first back in NFL history to have 200 yards rushing in the regular season game and a playoff game in the same season,
Wow.
both against the Rams, which is crazy as well. But no, the Rams brought it close at the end. Credit to Matthew Stafford. He didn't turn the ball over. He threw for over 300 yards in the snow. But the Rams came up short to the Eagles. How do you feel about that game?
I think you could slightly say that maybe the Rams were a victim of the weather, victim of the environment. It's very possible. I think the Eagles almost gave that game back to them, which is kind of
Definitely.
scary, scary for
Yeah.
you, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But to me, what stands out about this Eagles team, and I'd love to hear your response on this because you're a Jalen Hurts supporter,
Uh-huh.
threw for 128 yards and was sacked 7 times. AJ Brown
Hmm.
and Devontae Smith combined for just 35 receiving.
Yards. Yep.
Can Saquon Barkley carry this team to a Super Bowl on his own? Because he's doing it on his own. And I think when they play the Commanders, if the Commanders force Jalen Hurts to throw the ball, you could run into some problems.
Now, do you want me? I can answer. I got an answer to that right now.
Please, please.
I can say that now. I give you, like I said, the Eagles. They show you that they can do both. When they need to throw, they throw. There's been games during the season where Saquon hasn't had necessarily dominated the game or had the big play runs, where he's getting the hard yards and we have to throw it. So I feel like they do what they have to do. And yesterday was a cold, snowy game. Jalen Hurts was kind of gimpy as well when he got injured his knee as well. So they relied on Saquon and the offensive line, which is one of the best offensive line in the league. And they came through in the snow. So I think they can definitely throw if teams decide to just load up the box and shut Saquon down. I think they can line up and throw the ball to AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, and Saquon out the backfield as well. So I think, like I mentioned last week about Jalen Hurts as well, he just does what he has to do. If he needs to throw the yards, he will. But if he doesn't, he'll manage the game to win the game, and that's all that matters. So, but no, I get what you're coming from, though, for sure. But the Rams played a good game, though. They just had the turnovers, bad fumbles. Kyron Williams had a bad fumble late. Um, they just played sloppy at the end, and then they came down the drive. It was a bad read on the center. He looked the other way and let Jalen Carter straight through on that sack. So, which put them deeper in downs, and then they didn't convert. So it was just close game. But now,
What are your thoughts on snow games? I'd love to hear your take on it.
snow games. I don't mind the snow games. It's just a part of the game. I know some people hate it. They want games to be more indoor. Or in the hotter cities and hotter places and that such. But to me, I just feel like it's a part of the game. It's part of the element. If you don't want those cold teams to be a part of it, then you win the games. Tell Miami to win. Tell Jacksonville to win. You know.
I just think for me, listen, I love a good snow game in the regular season, but in the postseason, what I want to see is teams being able to play at their very best. Yes, both teams are playing in the same conditions in the same climate, so they're on a level playing field in that sense, don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I want to see everybody at their peak and everybody at their best in the postseason and who can come out of that as a winner and not necessarily be a victim of the weather.
No,
That's my only my
I,
only take is maybe less snow games in the postseason.
I get you, but how are we gonna do that though? How are they gonna? What would be your result of fixing that? I mean, were they going to make those teams not be able to have a home game if
I
they
don't
if it's
know. I don't know.
and
I just
some
hate
teams love
seeing
that, like
teams not at their full potential, right? Like
for
you
sure.
want when you're an elite athlete, you want to be playing teams at their best. You want to beat teams at their best. You don't want to beat teams that are handicapped because of the weather.
No, 100%. But it's like the teams, the better teams are going to deal with adversity no matter what it is. Whether it's the weather, a cold game, a rainy game, whatever the circumstances.
Right, but
You know,
you have a better rushing team than you have passing team, right? If you've got, something, similar situation to the Eagles Rams, right?
Rams, yeah,
Rams are a great passing team with Cup and Puka Nacua, right? And the Eagles have been very, very strong rushing with Saquon Barkley. The rush tends to do better in that bad weather because you don't have to throw the ball, you don't have to have inaccuracy from the quarterback with frozen hands and more fumbles because you're just having trouble holding onto the ball and just
yeah. No,
for
I
me
agree.
personally, I would love
But
to
the other team has to hold on to the ball as
I'd love
well.
to see teams at their best. That's all. That's all.
Yeah, for sure. No, I agree. And Stafford didn't do bad in the snow. He threw for 300.
He did fine.
And but it was just the turnovers, like you said, the fumbles, but Saquon had to hold on to the ball as well. He rushed for 200, so we'll see.
You know who
But
didn't hold on to the ball in that damn cold? Mark Andrews.
oh yeah. And speaking of, let's talk about that game, the Bills and the Ravens. Bills hold the Ravens off 27-25, which was in a great game. Like you said, it came down to the wire. Josh Allen, he did what he had to do. He had two rushing touchdowns. Lamar Jackson had a few turnovers, which is typical of Lamar in playoffs, which is seeming to be a pattern. But yeah, the Mark Andrews drop at the end. I actually made a video about that last night. I was so disappointed because I'm a tight end myself, so I love the tight end. So to see him drop that pass, and he's such a good tight end himself.
He's one of the most consistent tight ends.
Yeah,
He hasn't lost a fumble since 2019. He lost a fumble. He had a fumble in this
yeah, he had a
game,
fumble in that game as
early in
well.
this
Yeah,
game.
yeah,
And he had 4 drops all season. He had 2 yesterday and
true.
one
Yeah,
in the biggest moment to tie the
moment.
game
Yeah,
up on that 2-point conversion. And I get it,
yeah,
it happens,
but it
but
can't
he
happen
is
right there, man.
so consistent for it to happen in the biggest moments. And
Yeah,
the narrative of this game, whoever lost was going to be whichever quarterback it was, Lamar or Josh Allen, can't win in the postseason. That was always going to be the
Hmm.
narrative coming out of today. And I'm just going to say it. If you pin this entire game on Lamar, I think you're a loser. I do. I think that's so unfair to say. That is so unfair to say. Yes, he is a part of this problem. He
Yeah, he
had the
definitely had some
interception, he had the
turnovers.
fumbles, but the way that was all in the first half. And I think if they had come in the second half, you could maybe make this argument. But they came in the first half. He came out in the second half down by more than they've been down all season. And he played like an MVP. You cannot tell me watching the second half that Lamar Jackson wasn't the best player on the field in that game.
Well, no, he
He led an
definitely led them
88
back.
yard drive down to score a touchdown
Yes, he definitely
to
led
bring
them
his
back.
team back.
To me, it was the Ravens' defense 100%. I agree with you. It wasn't just Lamar. Yeah, the turnovers hurt for sure. It gave up possessions that they could have scored on 100%. I get that. If I'm looking from a Ravens fan point of view, but the defense laid an egg in that game yesterday. They usually play a lot better than that, and they didn't, in my opinion. So
Well, the
it
other thing
definitely
is,
wasn't all on. It
it wasn't
definitely
all
wasn't
on
all on Lamar
no.
for
And the
sure.
other thing is, I don't know why the Ravens do this, and maybe this has something to do with their postseason woes, is they stray from what they're good at. Derrick
Hmm.
Henry had 84 rushing yards yesterday.
Yeah,
Why
and
are we
yeah,
not handing him the ball? Lamar didn't have a great rushing game either. He ran when he had to, but
yeah.
they're trying to do too much. They're trying to go outside of their strengths. And that was confusing
Hmm.
to me. I didn't understand why we strayed from the run game in their game plan. It didn't really make sense to me. But on the flip side, I mean, Josh Allen, he didn't do anything spectacular last night. He did everything he had to do. He was a game manager and he
Yeah, he did what he had to do.
zero
Yeah.
mistakes. And you can actually point to Lamar's fumble where he went to kind of turn and potentially pitch it back or whatever he was doing there when he made his fumble versus Josh Allen down in the red zone. He could have had a fumble. He almost pitched that ball back. You know what I'm talking about? That play.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
he decided to hang on to it.
yeah,
Smartest I've seen him in a while.
yeah,
He's got incredible decision making this season, and he's become a very efficient game manager. And he didn't have to
yeah.
do
No,
much. He did everything he was supposed to do.
Josh Allen definitely showed signs of maturity because usually when it's a close game or to my opinion, he usually tries to do too much to just show
Hmm.
the Josh Allen magic, but he really didn't do that. He played within the system. Other players played well. The offensive line played great for them.
Yeah, James
So
Cook looked
he
great.
definitely showed maturity, just doing what the game bring to him and running the ball in
Yeah.
was definitely good for him for
For
sure.
me, that was the key. James Cook looked great. They were able to rush the ball against the Ravens front,
Yeah,
and
I like
I
Cook.
wasn't sure they were going to be able to do that. And it was honestly, it was spectacularly done. They look like the smartest team in the world kicking that field goal instead of going for it on 4th and 2 because they typically
Uh-huh.
would. And
Yeah.
it gave them enough of the edge, and whether or not it was the smart decision, they look like the smartest team in the world right now. And the
Yeah.
Bills,
This
I believe this season are a team that screams addition by subtraction. Getting rid of Stephon Diggs, everybody said they weren't going to be able to be a contending team this year, and look at where they are
hmm Yeah.
by subtraction.
Yeah. Like you got guys like Matt Collins and Kurt Samuel, just playing their roles and stepping up, when their
Khalil Shakir has been
time is
great.
called. Yeah, definitely. But let's talk AFC, NFC championship games now. You got the Commanders and Eagles, NFC East rivals, playing for the third time. They split 1-1 in their two games this year. Um, but yeah, the game will be in Philly. Who knows what the weather will be like?
Jaden
It'll be
Daniels has
another
been
snow
magical on
game.
the road. He's been
So
magical on the road.
yeah, no, that's a good one. And then you got the Chiefs and Bills again, out there in Kansas City. Josh Allen, can he get over the hump and
Are the
knock
Chiefs
knock off?
are the Chiefs just inevitable at this point? because I can't handle the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I would love the Bills to beat the Chiefs this week. I don't know if I can handle a three-peat. I don't want to see playoff Mahomes and Kelsey anymore.
Yeah,
I'm over it. They're a team that has 16 straight wins in one score games. It's virtually impossible when you're playing on a level playing field.
hmm
I don't know that they've been playing on a level playing field, and I hope the Bills can just go in there, stay calm, maintain
I
composure.
got the Bills in that. I got the
Don't be a
Bills in the
prisoner of the
upset.
moment and just try not to get outcoached like crazy.
Give me the Bills in the upset. I got Josh Allen in that game. I think he finally gets it done. I think the Bills get back to another Super Bowl for the first time since the 90s. And I don't think they'll get over the hump in the Super Bowl, but they will get to the Super Bowl. Give me Bills and Eagles in the Super Bowl, and give
I'm gonna
me
take the
Eagles.
Bills as well, mostly just because I don't want to see the Chiefs there. But I do think that this year has screamed Josh Allen's year from the jump.
Yeah,
I'm not sure who's gonna win MVP, but to me, Josh Allen has been the most valuable player on any team this season. That's my.
yeah, I got Josh for MVP for sure.
I think
He's
it's
my
gonna be
pick,
Lamar. I think they're gonna give it to Lamar.
and that wouldn't be a
Should
bad
be
pick
Josh.
either. But my
Well, I
pick
won't be
personally
mad.
is Josh.
I won't be mad, but I think it's Josh Allen's year to win MVP. I don't think there's a player on any team that is more valuable than Josh Allen
Hmm
is to the Bills this year.
Yeah, definitely, I agree.
Just don't be a prisoner of the moment. Try not to get out coached. They already beat them once this season. I
They're
think
gonna
they
have to
can do
play
it
against
again.
the refs,
Yeah, the Kansas City refs will be in full
Kansas
effect.
City refs.
Let all the Kansas City fans get mad at me again this week.
Yeah,
Whatever.
they will. I'm sure they're gonna have a lot to say to you. They've
They
definitely
have a
been
lot to
talking to
say
you
to me, but
crazy.
you know what? I, they can have a lot. They're gonna have a lot to say about everybody. Troy Aikman and Joe Buck, commend them this week for properly criticizing the NFL officiating on the broadcast. I mean, seriously, the oh no
Hmm
from Joe Buck was heard around the world. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
There's no broadcast moment that has resonated more with me than the oh no. Fair criticism. It's fair criticism. I think
hmm
get to a point where even your broadcast play-by-play announcers are saying these calls are maybe a little out of pocket.
Yeah,
Something's
yeah,
up. Something's a little suspect. Just me. Actually,
yeah.
not
No,
just me. A lot of people
a
think
lot of people. See, I didn't like the flop by Mahomes, man. I just didn't like that. Like he's just trying to forcefully get the calls, because he has been getting. He literally got two calls in that game, so it was just like,
Big
to try
Red.
to get another call. I
Big
see
Red.
your face. I see your face. But so it's just like one of those things. But I don't think they'll
The,
three-peat, but
ah,
you
the
know,
the blatant just it's so to me, the flops are so disrespectful to the game.
to the
I
NFL, definitely. This is
understand.
not the
It's
NBA.
it's disrespectful. It's disrespectful. It's getting ridiculous. I get selling
Yeah,
it a little bit from time to time when you need it. But Patrick Mahomes is, and I'll stand on this one too, because I don't think people think that I'm gonna say this. Patrick Mahomes is one of the best quarterbacks I have ever seen.
yes.
He doesn't need to be doing this.
hmm
It actually tarnishes his legacy for me. It tarnishes his reputation for me. I don't have the same respect for him that I did 2 years ago because the flops
Yeah,
are getting out of control. The calls are getting out of control. You
yeah,
breathe near that guy, you're getting a roughing the passer call. They murdered Jared Goff in the Commanders
yeah.
Lions game. He went into the tent for concussion protocol. He
I ain't
didn't
gonna lie, it's
the
worse than
passer
the
call.
Brady. It's worse than the Brady area. I remember when people used to feel like that about Brady back in the day, but like
It's way worse.
Mahomes is a
It's way
little
worse.
worse. Brady never flopped.
The flopping is
I've never seen him flop. I've never heard of anything about him flopping, but yeah,
I hate the flopping. I hate the flopping. As a basketball player, I hated the girls that flopped. I just it to me
yeah,
it takes away from the integrity of the game. And
yeah.
you're gonna
That's why people
you're
don't like
Patrick Mahomes,
LeBron.
you're already getting the call. You don't need to sell it.
That's why people don't like LeBron. They say he be flopping, which he does sometimes for sure, but
I think when
That's
you're that
another
good,
story.
you don't need it.
You
You're
don't
that
need it.
good. You don't need
Yeah,
it.
yeah, for
Grow
sure.
up. Respect the
All
game
right,
just a
let's
little bit.
all right, let's switch lanes a little bit and talk about your unrivaled
Oh,
basketball league that you love so much.
it
Uh,
delivered. It
yeah,
delivered.
it definitely delivered. It started on the 17th, and the 18th. There was games played.
Yep.
The views were great. Everything was great about it. What were your highlights from the
Couple quick
past
thoughts
games?
from me. Yeah. I mean, look, I loved the 3-on-3, fast pace, intense style basketball. It's amazing. I liked the one free throw for the shooting fouls. I thought it really maintained the game flow better.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
would have
yeah,
been too much to do two shots. And I loved the winning score format. I wasn't sure how I was gonna play like in real life, but I thought that it worked out really well. It was ensuring that that game it ended on like a game-winning shot, and it kind of mimicked that street ball essence, and it
yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
differentiated this league from any other league that's playing right now. And for me, it was a fantastic start. I loved the game winner from Skylar Diggins Smith in that first game of the night.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think it's
Against
really
Brianna Stewart.
interesting how team identity is going to be a huge part of this season going forward. Whether or not we're going to see more ISO play in the 3-on-3, or if we're going to get more team sets as that chemistry builds. But
Hmm.
fantastic start, and I loved the Sephora ref uniforms. Get them the Fenty gloss. I loved it. Loved it. And the other thing that I think is going to be really interesting is who's in Miami during that free agency period, because the players are kind of acting as their own team proxies. You're hearing about the women bringing each other coffees and talking to each
Uh-huh.
other. And I heard Stewie mention something to Satu Sabali that she might look good in seafoam. So it and plenty of WNBA team execs and front office people, they're all at these games.
Yeah.
So
Uh-huh.
Miami's going to become a big hub during this the free agency period.
Yeah, and during the off season for sure. Yeah. A lot of
All in all, I
agents and
loved it. I'm looking
everything.
forward to more.
Yeah, definitely. Got some games coming on tonight as well, on TNT. So make sure everyone check those games out on the 3-on-3 for sure. You also I also wanted to lead you into a topic you wanted to talk about the WNBA.
Yeah, I think there's some fair criticism to be made in regards to the WNBA's PR and marketing strategies this week. As I'm sure many people saw, Caitlin Clark, you know, Times Athlete of the Year, stellar women's basketball player, historic women's basketball player. She was at
Hmm.
Arrowhead in the Kelsey box, in Taylor Swift's box with Taylor Swift this weekend. They cut to her a bunch. There was memes all over the internet of the two giggling, laughing. Caitlin Clark's a big Taylor Swift fan.
Yep.
I found it extremely curious that the WNBA didn't even manage a repost of the NFL's posts of those two together. It's their biggest marketing individual. Caitlin Clark is their biggest seller, and they didn't push anything out of her being at the NFL game with Taylor Swift. To me,
Hmm.
reeks of maybe a little jealousy of Caitlin Clark and the fact that there are levels to this thing, right? There's 36 women playing in a 3-on-3 league that they're all the WNBA execs are at and supporting and supportive of. But Caitlin Clark and Taylor Swift, two headline grabbing names, are together, and you're not even gonna make your own little meme of their interaction like every other person on the internet. You're not gonna manage a repost of the two together just for clicks, for engagement, for draw. Like, why not? Hey, come check out the WNBA. It's even better than this. Like, something.
Hmm.
Give me something. But they gave us like 8 posts on Kelsey Plum's jersey retirement. And here's the thing, Kelsey Plum deserved to have her jersey retired. So I'm not knocking that at all.
Yeah.
But you're going to give me 8 posts of that and zero of Caitlin Clark. What do you think your engagement numbers are going to be on the Kelsey Plum posts versus the Caitlin Clark posts? To me, it's not reaching out and gaining new audience, which
Hmm.
is what you should be using Caitlin Clark for. And as somebody who wants nothing but success for the WNBA, and I'm thrilled for the jumps that and the leaps that have been made in viewership and engagement and activity within this space, and people finally realizing that women's basketball is that good and it's always been that good. But in the age of social media and the age of Caitlin Clark, we're now bringing new people in.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah.
think the WNBA is doing their part to get that, to draw that engagement and use Caitlin Clark for what she is, which is
Hmm.
iconic. There's
Yeah.
there's nobody like her when it comes to
That's like the
drawing
NBA
people
not
in as
that'd be like
viewers.
the NBA not showing LeBron at the national championship game
And I don't know what
tonight or
it is. I
something,
don't know
you know.
why they won't market her the way that they can, because I think they did early on and it's kind of dropped off. And I don't know if that's because of player jealousy. I mean,
Uh-huh.
she said no to Unrivaled, and I wonder why that is. I wonder if it was for her own personal reasons or if it was because she didn't want to be in Miami with 36 people that maybe don't love her, that are a little
True.
jealous.
That is true. It's a lot of interesting segment parts of that whole WNBA thing with, you know, Caitlin Clark and our players jealous. But I don't feel like players should be jealous, man. There are a lot of ballers. Caitlin Clark's not the only baller. You know, yeah, she might be the face of the league, true, and she should be deserving of that. You know, based on her play. You know, based on her game. You know, eventually it's going to come down to her having to get some rings here in a few years or so. But as far as other players being jealous, they shouldn't be jealous. There's other ballers out there. The league is growing. There's more eyes on it now than it has ever been. Ever been. I remember back in the Houston Comets days
Yeah.
with Cheryl Swoops and Cynthia Cooper. You know, it's from there to now. It's night and day on the where the league has grown. So I don't feel
Unfortunately,
like
your
there's.
audience is the one that determines who's the face of the league. It's not the league doesn't determine who's the face of the league, it's the audience. And
Hmm.
there there may be players out there. Personally, Sabrina Ionescu is my top dog right now.
Yeah, she's
I
one of my favorite too.
I love watching her play. I've worshipped her since she was in college. I love her style of play, but the league doesn't get to decide who the face is. The audience does. And
Hmm.
right now, the audience has chosen Caitlin Clark as its darling. And to not capitalize on that moment and not let yourself be a prisoner of that moment and just understand that you're doing what you got to do to get people and draw people in and retain people.
Hmm.
It's disappointing.
Yeah.
It's disappointing to me, and it to me
So
screams like it's a little bit.
who's working those jobs over there at
Yeah, it's a
WNBA?
little bit of like a pick me moment. I mean, they're the pick me of professional sports leagues right now because they don't want to just run with what's popular.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. No, definitely. You definitely touched on some interesting points as far as the WNBA and Unrivaled. Caitlin Clark is concerned. But yeah, definitely a shout out to your girl Dawn Staley too as well.
Yeah,
She picked up a new contract, which
got
makes
the
her the
coin, baby.
highest paid female coach ever
In women's basketball, yeah.
in women's basketball. Yeah, definitely. So congratulations to her on getting her bag for sure. Well
Got the
deserving,
bag.
obviously.
Contract extension through the 29-30 season, roughly 25 million. I mean, she is an incredible coach, man.
Definitely.
I love watching her coach. She led her
Man,
team
what?
last year, 38-0, national championship title team. They play good, solid team basketball, and she's
Hmm.
creating a legacy there that is going to be
Yeah. Her resume
synonymous
speaks for
with her name.
itself for sure.
Yeah.
She produces players, teams, and rings. It's her resume speaks for itself. It's well deserved.
Her name's going to be up
Congratulations.
there with, Pat Summitt, Gino Auriemma, the big
Yeah.
dogs. I think her
Yeah.
name's going to hold right there with
Yeah.
them.
She's next. Yeah, she's next up for sure. Definitely.
Yeah.
100%.
The future of women's basketball is very promising.
Yeah, it's bright for sure. It continues to grow. I love it. I know you do too.
I love it.
Yeah. All right. Well, obviously tonight is Monday night, and we have the national championship game. You see me wearing my colors, obviously. Going with my Buckeyes tonight, as they play the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame, uh, out in Atlanta, Georgia. It's going to be a tough game. Only way I can see Notre Dame winning is, like I said, if they keep the ball, they lead in time of possession, and they're able to run the ball against Ohio State's defense, and if Riley Leonard can just manage the game and make enough big plays to where they can keep it close, I can see Notre Dame pulling off an upset. But if
Yeah.
they don't, if they don't, I think and on defense as well, I think they're going to have to mix it up. Like the Leonard Moore kid who was saying that they were going to stick and play man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I
You know they heard it, and they
Yeah,
already got.
yeah, Jeremiah Smith definitely, they definitely heard that. So, but I don't think they're going to stay in the man. I think they're definitely going to mix it up. They're going to give the man looks, but they're going to mix in some zone and stuff to try to confuse the Buckeyes and can try to fuse Will Howard. So,
They're
if
gonna.
they're able to, if they're able to do that, I can see Notre Dame pulling off the upset. But if Ohio State gets off to a fast start and their defense shuts down the run and put pressure on Riley Leonard and make force turnovers, it's going to be a long day for Notre Dame. But give me the Buckeyes
Yeah.
winning it all tonight.
I look. Notre Dame is outmanned, outgunned in this one. They are 100% the underdogs. For me, it's going to be the team that plays its game the most solid that's going to come
Yeah.
out and win this one. I think Notre Dame, the keys for the upset to me are to limit the touches for Jeremiah Smith. He's the nuclear option. Michigan and Texas
Mm-hmm.
did it fairly well, limiting his touches. I would borrow from their game plan a little bit, especially if they're going to have to mix up coverage, because as you said, Notre Dame runs more man coverage than any other team in the FBS this season. They're
Uh-huh.
going to have to mix it up a little bit. Al Golden's going to have to get creative. He's going to have to cause turnovers and put pressure on Will Howard to make decisions. I think if you go into man coverage, I don't want to, if you're Notre Dame, you don't want to see Jeremiah Smith in the slot against a safety in man coverage. I think that's too
Definitely not.
dangerous, and he's proven too many times that he's going to eat you up in that. So,
Yeah,
got to
definitely.
disrupt Will Howard, got to have time of possession in your favor, limit Jeremiah Smith's touches, and just stick to your game plan. If you can keep it close into the last 5 minutes of the game, I think Notre Dame can get the upset.
Yeah, definitely. I think
Ohio
so
State,
too.
if they bury him, it's over.
Yeah. And I kind of think it'll be a close game in the first half. They're going to feel each other out. I think they're going to kind of get a feel. Ohio State's been getting off the fast starts every game, it seems like.
Mm,
They can't allow Notre Dame can't allow them to do that, or else it's going to be lights out. Ohio State defense plays well. Obviously, they're the number one defense in the country as far as scoring and total defense. So they can play defense as well. They're going to be keying on Notre Dame. Notre Dame's going to have to run the ball
they have
to
to.
be able to win this game. They're going to have to. And if
Riley
they're not
Leonard has
able
to find
to,
his
then they're
magic
not going to
again.
win. Yeah, I don't see Riley Leonard winning with his arm. So if they can't run the ball or if they're struggling to run, they're not making manageable third downs where it's 3rd and 3 instead of 3rd and long. I don't see them winning this game at all. They will have to be able to run the ball against a tough and the number one Ohio State defense. So it's going to be interesting. But
Both
give me the
teams
Buckeyes.
Both teams, I think it's so interesting. I mean, in our first year with the 12 team playoff, right? Both teams had key losses that, in my opinion, humbled them
Humble
before
them
this
season.
moment.
Yeah.
The Michigan loss for Ohio State and that Northern Illinois
Northern
loss for Notre
Illinois.
Dame in week 2. I mean,
Yeah.
arguably, these are two teams that saw their lowest lows and are now at their highest highs.
Highest highs.
And
Yeah.
it's going to be a first time win for either of these coaches. To me, I think if Notre Dame wins this game, it will change the structure of college football forever. If an
Yeah.
independent team in its NIL era is able to come together and win a national championship, I think that may change the structure of college football. I think Stephen A said something about this on First Take today. And I
Hmm.
100% agree because they're picking their opponents, they're running as an independent, and in the age of NIL and all these deals and it being way more about money than it has ever been, with a 12-team playoff
Hmm.
like this, it could it could forever change college football.
No, no, I agree. And the other side with Ohio State, it's um, like I mentioned before, they had the toughest road of any team in the playoff, let alone they beaten teams that were in the playoffs, like they beat Penn State, they beat Indiana. So, they beat what about five, top 10 teams along the way. So for them to win it all, even though losing to Michigan, was a bad loss, but really it was the best thing that happened to them, in my opinion, because it motivated them to be the team that they are. They brought back a lot of seniors. They brought Caleb Downs in from the portal, Will Howard from the portal, but most of these guys have been there at Ohio State. So they could have went to the NFL, but they decided to stay. But they had the toughest they had the toughest journey along the way, and now here they are. What a better way to end it
Yeah, I
than
think they're seasoned. I think they outman Notre Dame by a lot. And I think ultimately the better team, which is Ohio State, is going to win this one. But man, would an upset be fun and
yeah,
maybe not for you.
not yeah,
Not for the
not
Ohio
over
State
here,
fans, but an
not for us.
upset like this would
This
I
snow
mean
is going to
awesome
melt out
football
here.
for me. For me, I just want to see a close game, a good game. And I just want to see some good football. I do think that Marcus Freeman is the blueprint for the future of
Shout
coaching
out to
in
Marcus
college
Freeman. He's a
football.
great coach,
I think he's
definitely.
phenomenal. What he has done in 3 years at Notre Dame and the way that he's turned it around, especially with the,
Hmm.
carousel of portal quarterbacks that he's had to manage and
Yeah.
chemistry with, and
Uh-huh.
had so much success. Al Golden has been phenomenal on the defensive end for them. I think that coaching staff is a blueprint for the future for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And on the other side, for Ryan Day, the pressure is on, right?
Ooh, hot
He's
seat.
got the pressure on him if he
Is it
doesn't
win or
win
go
this
home?
game.
Is it win or go home for him, do you
It
think?
might be. It might be because I mean the pressure is on. It's everything is on the table now for him. You know, I don't necessarily think that I don't. Ohio State fans will want him fired if he loses this game. 100%. I don't. Me personally, I don't think he would get fired. But man, they would want him fired. They would be rallying around his house with the pitchforks and stuff like that, ready to get him out of town. But man, the pressure is on him tonight. Chip Kelly, uh, looking for his first national championship as a coach as well. But Jim Knowles on that defensive side of the ball in year 3 or 4 there now, got those guys rolling. But the pressure is on for Ohio State to bring this home for sure. Ryan Day, will he get it done? I guess we will see tonight.
Certainly expected of him.
Yeah, definitely. But on that note, I appreciate you being on the show with me. It was a great show. Always looking forward to talking with you. We'll definitely tap in the next week on biggest news, sports, and things. So it was a pleasure. How you feeling?
I feel really good about this. Our conversations, I think it's always dynamic when the two of us get up here on the mic. I love the differing opinions because we didn't talk about it, but I have the Commanders over the Eagles. I'd love to see
That's
it.
cool. I like that.
Well,
I kind of knew you did too. I kind of knew you
you know
did.
I have the thing for the
I
LSU
know.
boys, okay?
Yeah, I already
Jaden
knew.
Daniels is a special guy.
That's
Uh,
cool. Yeah. So we can talk about it next week for sure.
We
Yeah.
will, we will. Yeah,
That's gonna be
I didn't want to
interesting.
fight you too hard on that one, but I do have
Nah. You good?
I think the Commanders Bills is my Super Bowl premium right there. That's all I want to see, but uh
Yeah.
yeah. So
No,
I think
definitely.
it's been great and I can't wait to talk about next week and gear up for the Super Bowl and get into some basketball hopefully.
Yeah, definitely. We're gonna touch a little bit more on the basketball season, NBA, WNBA as well. But thank you guys. I'm your host, Big Red, along with Tony, and this is the He Said, She Said Sports Talk podcast. We will see you guys next week. Thank you guys. Love and peace.